Am I the jerk for doing the same thing to my sister-in-law that she does to my son? So background: I 32 female have a brother, Dave 35 male who's married to Sarah 29 female. They don't have children yet. I have a son who just turned 4 and a 3-month-old daughter with my husband 39 male. My husband and I live in Belgium most of the time, but we travel back to visit my family about once a month in England. At home, we speak both English and French to our children. My husband is Belgian, and right now, my son is in this very sweet phase where he'll sometimes mix up the two languages and say a couple of words in English in a French sentence or vice versa. This has never posed a problem to us, and even the staff at his nursery have reassured us that it's very common and they tend to grow out of it once they start at school. My sister-in-law has decided that this is a problem, so when we're visiting my parents and she notices my son doing this, she'll correct him, but she does so really rudely. Whereas my husband and I will just gently correct him. Anyway, we're visiting at the moment and she's now decided that instead of correcting him, she's just going to start ignoring him when he does this. I sort of noticed her doing it when we arrived, and I thought it was odd, but assumed maybe she was just stressed. Her job is quite intense, but it only really became an issue yesterday. My husband was talking to my dad outside and I was feeding my daughter in the other room, and I'd left Louis with Sarah and Dave. When I came back downstairs, Louis was crying, and I managed to understand that he tried to ask Sarah for a drink. He has a special cup he uses that he was holding. So it was obvious what he meant, but that she just ignored him. I asked her why and she explained that she wasn't going to reply to him unless he said the sentence correctly and that I shouldn't be ignoring my son's obvious speech issues. For context, it's not that she didn't know what he wanted. She told me that she understood exactly what he was asking for, but that she was deliberately refusing because he hadn't asked correctly. This really pissed me off, but luckily my husband came inside at that moment and pulled me away so we could calm down and settle Louis. That night at the dinner table, Sarah asked me to pass her something, but she said it in bad English. She is English. I just mean that she asked for it in slang. Think, pass us the peas, will you? I had a bit of an epiphany and I just decided to totally ignore her. She asked again, and I did the same thing. My brother asked why I was ignoring his wife and I said that I'm not able to reply if she can't speak English correctly and that it's wrong of him to ignore her obvious issues with grammar. Everyone's pretty pissed off with me and I admit it was incredibly childish, but she was needlessly being a dickhead to my baby. Should I just apologize?
Am I the bad guy because I told my girlfriend not everyone is attracted to you? On our way back to my place, Val said I think Will might have a crush on me. I said doubt it, he's just friendly. She said no, it seemed like he was interested. I said Will's gay. Val said well then he must be bi because he was checking me out. I sorta snapped and said this has gotta stop. Everyone is not attracted to you or checking you out. Some people are just looking in your direction or being nice. She said don't be jelly, I get looks and you don't. Her way of saying jealous. I said I'm not jealous, but this is beyond annoying. You sound conceited, it's a major turnoff. I ended up telling her she should go home that night instead of stay over at my place. I haven't really talked to her since besides a text she sent. She texted me Tuesday and said when you're ready to apologize for acting like a jealous a-hole let me know. I don't think I should apologize, but maybe I was being jealous and this is something I should just deal with. Am I the bad guy?
Am I the asshole for telling my husband that his culture is garbage and I won't compromise by incorporating it into our family life? My husband and I live in the U.S. Northeast, where I am from. John moved here for work several years ago, from the deep south of the U.S. where he grew up, raised with Christian holidays but never attending church. Coincidentally, shortly before everything hit, John's parents and his childhood best friend Dan and his wife decided to move here as well. This past weekend was the first that us three couples have gathered together since any of us moved here. We had a distanced picnic at our house. John sat down 2 to 3 minutes after I did, as he was settling our kid into his pen in the yard with us. Dan and my father-in-law immediately started to jokingly rip on him for being whipped and doing my job of parenting our child while he was supposed to be allowed to just catch up with the 2 other men. I was trying to politely deflect when it turned to how mean I was for not fixing him a plate and serving him before serving myself. If I thought a certain dish would run out before he got to it, or if he had asked me to, I of course would have. Dan and father-in-law continued to brag about how their families do it right, where they handle the outside chores while their wives handle the inside chores, including the care of Dan and his wife's 2 children. I think it's important to note here that both currently live in rented condos that by their nature do not have outdoor chores, and both their wives have always worked full-time, as I do. The whole day was kind of wrecked by that start, and I was frustrated when John left with Dan and father-in-law to go for a walk and left me to do all the cleanup alone while also looking after our kid. I expected John to apologize when he returned hours later, but instead he got at me for making him look bad in front of his friend and dad. He brought up how a traditional division of labor is a huge part of Southern culture, and how I was being disrespectful to his background by forcing Northern culture onto him and his family. He said he's been building up a lot of resentment the past few months that I make him do half the chores and childcare, since in his culture, Women do the chores and hands-on childcare, and men do the fun parenting, the discipline, mow the grass, and bring in the cars for oil changes when needed. I was stunned but honest and told him Southern culture is garbage. It's bigotry. I lived in John's home state for 8 years, and I saw how Southern hospitality is reserved only for those in your in-group. Deviate from the norm, be queer, non-Christian, a POC, a liberal, a non-traditional woman, and they turn on you viciously. Does every single person act like that always? No. But it's the culture. John is livid and says his culture is just as valid as that of other global regions, religions, and ethnic groups, so I am the bigot by not compromising with him here and incorporating aspects of his culture into our family life the way I would if his culture was Islamic or Asian or whatnot. So am I the asshole for refusing to follow his culture?
Am I wrong for getting matching tattoos with my best friend after his girlfriend told me it made her uncomfortable? Yeah. So basically, I, 19 female, have been best friends with Devon, 20 male, since we were teenagers, around 13 to 14 years old. We have been extremely close since then, and his friendship means more to me than any other relationship in my life. When we were around 16, he casually said, "Hey, maybe we should get matching tattoos to remind us that we're always there for each other." And I said it sounded cool, and it wasn't really mentioned again. We were minors, so it wasn't exactly plausible. But recently we passed a tattoo place, and I joked, "Remember when we were younger and we wanted to get matching tattoos?" Which led to a discussion leading up to us deciding that we wanted to do it for real. We took a few days to decide on the design. My friend is a graphic designer, so she made it for us. But it's basically a light bulb shaped like a heart with the words, "I'll be your light, love you always," sort of woven through the image. The light bulb thing is an inside thing between us, and we always say "love you" / "I love you," so it wasn't anything off-putting. And then the day before the appointment was scheduled, Devon's girlfriend Bianca came up to me hysterical, saying that we couldn't go through with the tattoos. I'm assuming Devon must have told her. She didn't really give me any room to speak, but she talked a lot about how uncomfortable the idea made her. They've been in an extremely serious relationship for a while, and he was starting to consider proposal. But I told her that I was still getting the tattoo, as Devon had been an important part of my life for years and means a lot to me. And the tattoo was our idea together, not just mine. Obviously, we went through with it, and it felt really nice for a while, until Bianca called me and started freaking out. Apparently, I'm a horrible person and the tattoo was too romantic. Even though it was not. We're just extremely close friends. I'm sure she has friends she would say "I love you" to, and it's not a big deal. But now she's saying she wants it to be removed, and I really don't know what to do. Because on one hand, I don't want to be responsible for ruining Devon's relationship / possible marriage, but on the other hand, I do not want to get rid of the tattoo. I'm really conflicted on this one because I didn't think it mattered at all, but she will not stop crying about it. I mean this literally, and it makes me feel really bad. Okay, this is really weird. I'm sorry, I'm not getting no matching tattoos with my guy best friend. That is weird in my opinion, okay? Second of all, I don't think it's your fault. I do think it's weird that you would get matching tattoos with a dude that says "I love you" and he's not your man. But I don't think it's your fault. If she didn't want you guys to get matching tattoos, she should talk to her boyfriend. You are not her boyfriend. If he didn't want to do it, she should not come running to you. That's not your problem. I still think it's weird, but it's not your problem.